Hello friends, my name is Ryan, and today I'm going to tell you a story named The Fatal Train Collision Lives Lost in a Fiery Crash. This is a truly amazing story, full of twists and turns, where lives change in an instant. So, let's start. It was a cold evening in the heart of the city. The train station, usually a busy place with people coming and going, was eerily quiet that night. The usual hum of the crowd had turned into whispers, as if the station itself knew something was about to happen. I was standing there, watching the clock tick closer to 11:15 p.m., the scheduled time for the last train. My hands were trembling, not from the cold, but from a strange sense of unease that had settled over me. You see, there was a feeling in the air that night, a feeling that something wasn't right. The skies above were covered with dark clouds, and the faint rumble of thunder seemed to echo through the streets. As the minutes passed, I noticed a woman standing near the ticket booth, her eyes fixed on the clock. Her expression was filled with worry, and she kept glancing over her shoulder, as if expecting someone to appear. Her name was Sarah, and she had been at the station for what seemed like hours, waiting for her fiancé, James. They had been planning to meet at the station that night before heading to a nearby cafe. But something was wrong. She had sent him several messages, but he hadn't replied. The worry in her eyes grew more intense as time passed, and I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. She seemed so alone in that vast, empty station, her anxiety almost palpable. As I turned to leave, I heard a loud noise, a train whistle in the distance. The ground beneath my feet seemed to vibrate as the train approached, its headlights cutting through the darkness like a beacon. Sarah jumped at the sound, her eyes widening. She turned towards the tracks, her face filled with hope, but that hope quickly turned to horror. The train was coming, but something wasn't right. It was speeding toward the platform, faster than any train should be. The screeching sound of the brakes filled the air, but it was too late. The train didn't stop. In a split second, the crowd of people at the platform scattered in panic, and Sarah's scream echoed through the station as the train hurtled forward, crashing into the platform with a deafening roar. There was a massive explosion, a fiery ball of flames, and then, nothing but chaos. The impact was catastrophic. Pieces of metal and glass flew through the air, and the air itself seemed to catch fire. The train had derailed, slamming into the surrounding buildings, setting them ablaze. The screams of the passengers mixed with the sound of the fire, and the night sky was lit up by the inferno. It was like a nightmare come to life. I stood frozen, watching the horror unfold before me. People were trapped, their cries for help lost in the smoke and the fire. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, but the damage was too great. The wreckage of the train was scattered across the station, its twisted metal a grim reminder of the lives that had been lost. And amidst it all, Sarah's face was the last thing I saw before the smoke obscured everything. As the hours passed, the fire was finally brought under control. But the aftermath was devastating. Dozens of lives were lost, including Sarah's fiancé, James. The investigators soon discovered that the train had been tampered with. Someone had deliberately caused the collision. But who? And why? That was the question everyone wanted to know, and it haunted the city for weeks to come. The police launched a massive investigation, but the answers didn't come easily. The case was shrouded in mystery, with only a few leads to follow. The authorities were baffled, and the residents of the city were left to wonder if anyone could be trusted. Who would want to cause such destruction? Who had the motive to kill so many innocent people? It was later revealed that a man named Raymond, a former employee of the train company, had been behind the crash. He had been fired years ago after a series of safety violations, but he never got over the humiliation. His bitterness had festered over the years, and in his mind, the only way to get revenge was to cause the ultimate disaster. He had hacked into the train systems, overriding the safety mechanisms, and set it on a collision course with the platform. The investigation into Raymond's motives was chilling. He had carefully planned the crash for months, watching the station and learning the schedules of the trains. He knew exactly when the last train of the night would be, and he made sure it was the one that would meet its tragic end. But in the end, he didn't get away with it. Raymond was arrested, and the truth about the crash was finally revealed to the public. But for Sarah, the damage was already done. She never got the chance to say goodbye to James. The love of her life was gone, and she was left with nothing but the haunting memory of that fateful night. She became a symbol of the pain and loss that the crash had caused, and her story, like so many others, would never be forgotten. As the city began to heal, the memories of that night lingered. The wreckage of the train was cleared away, but the scars it left behind would never fully fade. The station, once a place of hope and anticipation, had become a memorial to the lives lost in the fiery crash. People would visit the site, laying flowers and paying their respects, but the sadness in the air was undeniable. And so, my friends, the story of the fatal train collision is one of tragedy, of lives lost and families torn apart. But it is also a reminder of the fragility of life and the unpredictability of fate. No one could have foreseen the events that transpired that night, and yet, they changed everything. We can never know what tomorrow holds, but we can always cherish the moments we have today. If you found this story gripping and want to hear more, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Let's keep the suspense alive, and remember, inspiration never stops. Let's try every day to stay strong and brave, no matter what life throws our way.